Hey, what's up, everybody? The Shadow Things is back. We got Vanessa and Kurt. We're in a new format here. We're live. We're no longer just an audio podcast. We are in your face on YouTube or wherever else this thing's streaming to. This could be streaming to Uranus. It's probably a bad analogy there, but let's try Pluto. Could be streaming on Pluto for all we know. But so yeah, we're back. We haven't done a podcast in a while, and this is the Shadow Things Show. Kind of renamed it a little bit to Shadow Things Show from the Shadow Things Podcast because last year when we were full throttle with the podcast, it was audio only. But now, as you can see, we're going to do this StreamYard format. We're all going to be on camera, and you can see what's going on. Doesn't mean we're all going to be split up all the time. You might see us come into studio together and relive the glory days. But for now, we're going to try this StreamYard format and just kind of broadcast as much as possible. This might give us an opportunity to put out some more shows, talk about spooky shit more often. And for people that are just joining us, we do cuss on the channel. This is an opportunity for us to kind of Joe Rogan format the paranormal topics. So on Shadow Things, we talk about ghosts, paranormal, hauntings, cryptids. I mean, you just name it. Help me out with some other topics, Kurt. I mean, some of the obscura type topics.
We talked about the occult and witchcraft and UFOs.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that if anybody is, a fan of our old podcast, that they remember our messed up UFO episode where we lost all of our recording. So
yeah,
when it was getting good.
I know. I was getting ready to give up all the secrets of Area 51, and the Fed stopped in, and they were like, the feed went dead. We lost the entire show. I can't remember what I did to have to kind of recreate the audio stream, but I was able to put something.
We were recording it on somebody's cell phone also for video purposes.
Right. Yeah, so we salvaged that one, but hopefully using this StreamYard format, which I love so far, we're able to maintain our connection. So the federales, if you're listening, you can F off because this is our podcast show, and we're going to talk about whatever we want to. Now, if we divulge too many secrets, go ahead and shut us down. That way we know we can confirm whether it's true or not by shutting us down. So
yes,
we probably won't get shut down now.
Yeah, it would be helpful. If we're anywhere near any truth, just shut us off.
Yes.
Right off.
And then we'll just turn it back on and keep talking about it. But for anybody that's new to Shadow Things, my name's Brent. Who else do we got?
Hi.
Vanessa.
Kurt.
And of course, Kurt. Kurt started off as a guest, but he's just as much of Shadow Things as anybody. So he's been on 99.9% of the episodes.
Yep.
Speaking of past episodes, if you want to see what we've been up to before, we did put out, I think it's 11 or 12 podcast audio episodes. You can find it on Spotify, Apple, Google, all your podcast distribution points, wherever you get your local or favorite podcast. So you can check out the old episodes there, and we explain a little bit more about ourselves. You can hear the old past topics. I think the last one we did was on Wicca, witchcraft, and some of the historical stuff. Kurt is amazing at history and providing that into the spectrum, and I'm just kind of looking at the camera like but,
Same.
But it's always a great discussion, no matter what we're talking about. But
it wasn't my favorite episode. My favorite episode's still the Jack Parsons one, but
that was good. That was an in-house episode where we just sat and talked about the sex and rockets, and you know what I mean. That was a good episode. But we talk about a lot of otherly type topics. If it's outside the norm. So it's called the Shadow Things Podcast. I mean, we talk about shadowy topics. So just bookmark us, like us, subscribe, whatever you want to do. If you don't want to, that's fine too. But We're going to be here as often as we can. I'm thinking at least every other week, but we'll see what the schedule allows us for, flexibility. Um, being able to connect remotely like this and do the show through StreamYard does allow us to be a little bit more flexible with the show. We don't have to travel to each other and stuff, and we can also do these shows remotely. Like if we're at a haunted location or doing a UFO sighting or going to a lecture or even on vacation, we can share, a stream or whatever. So
Can we plan a UFO sighting?
we can plan one. So I will get the pie pan.
Okay.
I'm pretty good throw, so I'm going to whiz it up in the air and we'll do a sighting.
All right.
Which is where the UFO Twitter community is heading right now, by the way. No. So we're going to talk today. We're going to talk a little bit about we're going to get on the Skinwalker Ranch topic. If you've seen the Skinwalker Ranch show, you know what we're talking about. But we'll give you a little recap there. We're going to talk a little bit about the UFO stuff going on right now. And we're also going to talk about the ghostly drama of paranormal television at this point. So there's a lot of things going on there with the networks and cancellations and renewals. I know Destination Fear is up for an announcement today, so we'll know whether or not they're canceled. Not a huge fan of really any of those shows, but people are, and I want to cater to that if we can talk about it.
Portals the one they need to get rid of is the Paranormal Caught on Tape.
Oh my God!
I hate that show.
I watched it last night for the first time in a long time.
Oh God! Some of those hosts I know, so I don't want to talk about them, but that show is horrible. And to the credit or to the discredit, some of those hosts, they just play along with it too. They're like,
yeah,
oh, the little girl in the corner, she's so sad. It's like, that ain't a little girl. That's like a bug on the lens.
For sure.
So yeah, I'm not a fan of that show, but we'll get into the shows here in a little bit. But
so many of those videos are total setups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been on a YouTube rant for YouTubers here lately. I don't know why, but I'm just tired of everybody like clickbaiting and faking, and there's a demon in every location. We've been over this before on our past podcast, but man, you're not getting scratched and attacked by demons in your fucking daycare videos, man. It might be a haunted daycare, but there's no demon in it. I'm telling you.
No.
It's like, stop the clickbait.
For sure.
If you need to clickbait people into watching your content, then you need to find another profession, because it's just ridiculous. I can't stand it. I see a lot of YouTubers coming out against such content as well. It's just, if you get new people watching that content for the first time and they want to really kind of learn about the paranormal or see kind of what it's really like, they come across a headline that says attacked by a demon at church. Come on. I mean, they're seeing the video under the premise of getting views for this YouTuber who doesn't fucking want to work. I'm sorry, but that's what it is. I mean, yeah, everybody wants to work from home and live the dream. And you go on TikTok and you see people scooping stickers and bananas and potato chips. And I'm not kidding. People do scoop videos of potato chips that they buy at the dollar store and resell them for like $50 a bag.
This is true.
I've seen it. This is true. Nobody wants to work anymore. So you got these YouTubers doing these paranormal videos, and everything's a demon. It's like, no, it's not. Just chill out. Like, even the network shows don't even go that far.
Yeah, human nature is laziness. So,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's sad. I mean, I could see hyping up your video a little bit, but man, leave the demon out of it. Let Beelzebub chill out, in Hades or wherever the hell he is. But he's not on YouTube. But yeah, so Skinwalker Ranch. So first of all, Kurt, enlighten the audience as to what a skinwalker really is. So what is the kind of the definition of a skinwalker?
Contrary to some of the things that I've encountered watching the television show, the Native American tribes, especially in the American Southwest, talk about skinwalkers, and skinwalkers are a spirit. They're a malevolent spirit. They're not a good spirit, and those spirits will take human form to pretty much cause chaos in people's lives. I don't know where or how this show developed that the Skinwalkers were aliens that the Hopi and Ute Indians had encountered, and all this other nonsense that they're talking about. Because I had never in my life until this show was on heard Skinwalkers being talked about as alien visitors that were, cutting cattle and doing whatever.
Right.
It's an evil spirit that'll take human form and really just completely drive your whole life into chaos.
It sounds a whole lot like a demon, except
Well, in a Christian sort of way,
Yeah.
I'm sure that you could equate them to a demon. Yeah. I mean, it's not
Right.
really, they're not going and possessing somebody, a living person. They're taking human form. Kind of more like when you hear about angels coming down from heaven and they look like people and stuff. It's kind of that sort of thing. But they're just not good. They ruin people's lives. It's their whole purpose is to mess with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That
that's the
sounds
whole
familiar.
that's the whole why they call them skin walkers, is because they're in a human skin and they're walking amongst us. It's not they're not little gray men running around, coming down from, alien ships.
Right. Uranus.
Uranus.
Yeah.
My thing is, so my first introduction to the whole Skinwalker phenomenon was on an episode of Ghost Adventures where they're supposed to be hunting ghosts and they're on Skinwalker Ranch, and I don't know if the current owner was the one who owned it back then when they went there. I'm not 100% sure, but they in that episode they touched on the extraterrestrial element a little bit, but it was more like, oh, there's creatures here that exist, strange things happen on the ranch, but also we get UFO sightings.
Right.
When you watch this show, the actual Skinwalker Ranch show, it's more of just the area as a whole is weird, and they don't really talk about UFO sightings, at least not yet. As far as I've been into it, I haven't. I don't know, but
It's a mishmash of just about anything you could throw at a viewer for ratings. I mean, I like some of the people on the show, but the evidence that you present is a little unfounded. I mean, I think there's something to the land, and it did. It started off with it's I don't know the name. I think the name is the Uinta Basin or something like that.
yeah.
And the northeast part of Utah is where this ranch is situated at, where the show takes place. And the ranch is owned by a guy named Brandon Fugel, and he's a real estate investor executive. I've interacted with him on Twitter a few times. He seems like a nice guy, but he loves the paranormal. He bought the ranch from Bob Bigelow, so Robert Bigelow of Bigelow Aerospace, who had a government contract to actually study the phenomenon at Skinwalker Ranch. And I think the history and the details of that is pretty much sealed from even the current owner of Skinwalker Ranch, as far as we know. There's a lot of things that they've done with their research back in the Bigelow days, where they don't talk about it with the current operation. People are operating at Skinwalker Ranch, but the evidence it's widespread. It's the UFOs. It's poltergeist phenomenon at the homestead sites. It's cow mutilations. It is radiation poisoning. I mean, it's physical evidence. It's it's the geography. There's things underground that they're trying to figure out what's going on, and then you get the space alien shit. So you see something on camera, and it's automatically a space alien, and then you get your ratings and you hook that into the crowd. But I think something's going on there, but I just don't. I think it's a TV show, unfortunately.
I think a lot of that, like if you watch the show and watch it for people's ability to react as if something is actually happening, like, hey, all of a sudden this shit happens. Everybody's reaction seems scripted to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The especially the guy who's the head of the security team. He is
Dragon.
a horrible actor.
That's Brian Dragon.
Yeah, he's a
Dragon's the
horrible
best.
actor.
Yeah.
I mean, the looks on his face and stuff when he says things, it's like, dude, are they holding cue cards?
It's funny because he tries to be serious. Like they'll start talking about digging, and that's a no-no for Brian. Nothing against him, but these people are driven by production, right? They're driven by segments and scenes and itineraries of the production crew. I'm sure I know there's genuine research that goes on that we don't see on film, but for the show itself, and that's where this is where this opinion's coming from. It's a show, but I just wish that you didn't have the actual PhD degreed astrophysicist types, Travis Taylor types, on there passing off things that are just mundane in explanation as otherworldly phenomenon. I just can't get over the fact that somebody the likes of Travis Taylor goes on this show and tells people that IR illuminated cobwebs is an orb entity from some fucking UFO. It just drives me nuts.
It's the goofiest shit ever. The show as a whole is too like movie-esque for me. Like I don't even know. I don't know how to explain it. Like I'm waiting for I don't know. This super rich guy is like here. It had me when they were getting in. They go into the airplane hangar, and there's a private jet, and they're in this pulling up in this super fancy sports car, and I'm just like,
dude's got money.
I don't know. Just a little weird.
I feel like if I had the money that Brandon Fugel has, and it's a lot, I would have a lot better stuff out there. Maybe that's just me, but I mean, it seems kind of sparse. They got cameras up everywhere, yeah. But I'd have the best of the best stuff. I don't know what that would be, but I wouldn't have Travis Taylor on site. He needs to be doing something else, especially with the show. Like, it's not even entertainment value in my book. Kurt, do you have any opinion on Taylor?
Well, my biggest issue, and it has nothing to do with his degrees or anything, I just can't get past his Arkansas, whatever accent that is. It drives me crazy because this guy is like this hugely intelligent person, yet I don't know if he's adding extra yokel to the way he talks on there, because I've seen him on several other shows. History Channel has him on Ancient Aliens and stuff, and he doesn't have as thick of an accent when he's on those shows. But on Skinwalker Ranch, I'm just waiting for him to talk about Uncle Jed and and Granny, and it's like, God, you're so smart, and yet you come off as not.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I think it's funny, but I don't have a real problem with his accent, or it's funny, but yeah, you have a point. So for me, it's like,
woo doggy, there's a UAP.
Yeah, you said it right, a UAP.
UAP.
It's floating over the Shining Steel right now.
Oh god.
I don't have a problem with like his accent, but it just bothers his. To your point, Kurt, the degree part does bother me, and the dude is like wicked credentialed. He works for NASA, and he's done some high level stuff, but he's on a television show talking about cobwebs like they're actual entities and or whatever the hell it boiled down to in one of those episodes this past season. It just drives me nuts that you're trying to pass off some of that as actual phenomenon. It just,
It's
I don't understand
showbiz.
it. Showbiz for sure.
Yeah, and that I think that's my biggest problem is that you can tell this is showbiz. I also watch Oak Island, Curse of Oak Island, and yeah, is there some sort of are there elements to it that are kind of scripted? Like I love Gary Drayton, but you see him walk out into a field where he's got 1,000 freaking flags that have been metal detected, and they dig up one or two, and they show you just the one or two that they dig that on camera.
Right.
He's digging constantly. I want to see all the crap they're pulling up. I don't want to just see, ooh, here's this one, look at this. Here's another ox shoe, it, and I know
it's
that it's because it's a show and they're trying to build drama and things like that. But, I don't care. Okay, so he gets this good hit and they dig and it's an old like 7-Up bottle from 1975. I don't care. At least you're being honest.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
I totally agree. In Oak Island, I think there's some paranormal ties there too. With when they discovered the 90-foot stone and the money pit was first discovered, they saw the lights from the mainland over top of some kind of orb lights in the woods.
Oh yeah, so people carrying lanterns.
Some spooky twist to that, and then you got the curse and all that shit. But the show itself is so predictable. Everybody gets introduced to the crowd, the audience, probably 900 times by that the narrator.
The narrator's kind of annoying on that show.
Yeah, Charles Barkhouse, Gary Drayton, and the rest of the Oak Island team are in the command center. It's like you just introduced us to them like 10 seconds ago.
Right.
Like I know who these people are.
Well, it's 13 seasons in or something, and primarily all these people have been on for at least the last 5 seasons. We know who they are.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Vanessa, you should watch the show if you've never seen one.
I haven't, and I should because
they're trying to dig up. They're trying to dig up something underneath the soil on Oak Island in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
Just watch the show. Not to go off on a big tangent about that, but it just goes to show you that production has a lot to do with actual things going on. Like I believe that there's something going on at Skinwalker Ranch, but it's tainted by the likes of Travis Taylor and this dragon guy, and some of the other guys are okay, but I don't know. I think television, and it's not these guys' fault. They're just doing it to be on the show and have a presence. I get it, but for serious topics, there needs to be another source for people to research, and enjoy that phenomenon wherever it is, Oak Island or Skinwalker Ranch. It's a private piece of land out there in Utah, and it's they're going to do what they want with it. But people take this stuff seriously, and I think the owner does handle criticism fairly well because he goes at it on Twitter with people that call him out for quackery and ratings, and I don't think it's quackery. Really, I don't think they're setting up evidence. I just think that they're using a PhD to explain things that's just not factual. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's just crazy. But so, Kurt, going back real quick. So the Skinwalker label, did that come from like the Indians that were native out there?
Yeah, the Navajo and the Ute tribes out in that area.
Right. So, I mean, I don't know. I know they brought in like neighbors and people that worked for Bob Bigelow back then to talk about some of the phenomenon that happened while they were there. or visitors. They'll have visitors come on the show regularly and talk about, when they stepped foot on the ranch, they had this happen or they seen this. But I don't know anything about like the history of the Native Americans that were there. Did they experience the same type of stuff, like the UFO end of it?
Well, when you watch the show, they've had a couple of people from, I believe, the Navajo tribe in that area talk about, old legends of lights in the sky and things like that. But like I said before, lights in the sky is something different than skinwalkers.
That's my thing. Like the way some of these shows talk about it, it's like it's either the same thing, like they coincided with each other, or they're two different things. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, the Native Americans have all kinds of, phenomenon they talk about in the sky, thunderbirds and things like that.
Right.
And, so it's like they're mixing all of these things together, which just leads to confusion, which doesn't help, especially in the paranormal community. There's already a level of skepticism around the paranormal community in general. And then when you are presenting a television show and all you do is add to the confusion, that doesn't help anything.
Right.
And that's even more to your beef with Travis, is that not only are they confusing the issue, but I think to some level they're using him and his degrees to equate to this is proof.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's my problem with it all.
You've got an astrophysicist that is saying, hey, this is real, so it must be real.
Yeah. And you know what? I mean, I can't talk about his direct peers that he's acquainted with, but his peers in the astrophysicist world, people that have his position, they probably think he's just nuts or just like fake. You know what I mean? I mean, you don't see a lot of other astrophysicists coming on and talking about entities and UFOs, and I mean, they'll touch on the extraterrestrial topic because it's important. Like Seth Shostak of SETI, he'll come out and keep an open mind. But exactly. Shostak of SETI, he'll come out and talk about the fact that aliens exist, but he's very adamant that it's not probable that they visited Earth just due to the vast distances. And we've talked about space travel before and all that, but that's Travis Taylor's peers, these higher level people that have degrees that touch on space and stuff like that. And this guy's talking about cobwebs being entities. I mean, it's mind-boggling. It's bothersome. Now, let me ask you both this. Do you think, and a lot of people feel this way, they believe that, and Vanessa, you probably need a few more episodes to kind of get a good feel for all the phenomenon, but they believe truly that Skinwalker Ranch is the Disneyland for paranormal happenings on planet Earth. That if we're to discover proof of aliens and ghosts and other phenomenon, that it will happen on that ranch. What do you guys think? Is it that big of a deal there?
I've heard that, but
Kurt's like, no.
I can't imagine why it would be. I mean, I've heard that, but I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I why there?
Yeah.
The Air Force or military in general, I don't know which group it was, just allegedly shot down a UAP over Lake Huron.
Right.
Okay, that's Lake Huron. That's nowhere near Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, my question is, why isn't the U.S. Navy out there or the U.S. Coast Guard out there in Lake Huron trying to find whatever it was they shot down?
It blipped off the map. I mean, not the UAP, the topic.
Oh, yeah.
So once they scooped up the China balloon from the coast of Myrtle Beach, you never heard anything else about the Huron UAP or the one up in the Yukon,
Right.
up in northern Alaska. or Canada.
Well, up in
Um,
northern Alaska, you're never going to find it.
Yeah. Oh, it's done. It's
4,000
done.
people disappear in Alaska every year, never to be seen or heard from again.
Right. Which would
So,
be that would be a great topic, by the way, is missing people in some of these national parks. I mean, it's a
I
huge
never
thing.
thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
or all the disappearances along what is it, I-80 or I-70 across the
Right.
country.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. But yeah, to say that Skinwalker Ranch is the Disney World of paranormal, it's kind of a stretch for me. But
Yeah,
I'd
I
say there's
just don't
stuff
know
going
about
on.
that.
And there's a ranch also, and I don't remember the name of it, but it's nearby. It's in the same county, Uinta County or whatever the county's name is. I'm sure I'm butchering that name, but they also had a television show where they they were poking in the ground, and it was. I made it one episode. It is far worse than Skinwalker Ranch as far as like acting.
Oh,
They drilled into the side of this like cliff and pulled out a pristine mint condition Aztec coin that looked like it was from it just got minted. And they tried to say it had alien markings on it. And I just went, boop. I turned it on
love that.
C-SPAN or something. I would rather watch politicians go at it about the spending budget than watch shit like that. I mean, it's just it's so crazy. But television is just. I mean, this is what we got to deal with. I
It's not what it
mean,
used to be.
That's actually a good segue into talking about what's happening with all these paranormal shows.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. So paranormal shows. I think they've hit their peak. I mean, first of all, every channel, starting with travel and then moving to Discovery and a little bit of history, they're inundated with paranormal shows. It's almost as bad as YouTube. I mean, you cannot turn
Full
on the Travel
saturation.
Channel. Yeah, it's full. 99.9% of everything on Travel Channel, even at 3 a.m., is Zach Bagans or I don't want to go into the people specifically, but it's all paranormal. I think they're at peak saturation levels, and it's going to stop. I think that the viewership's going to go down, and people thirst for something different because let's face it, it's the same old stuff on these paranormal shows where they're going in and talking to beeping and blinking boxes, and it's just not going to cut it forever. All good things must come to an end. I've enjoyed these shows to an extent. I've been close to one of these shows before, but all good things come to an end. And people on Twitter and social media are going apeshit because their favorite shows are getting ready to end, and they don't realize that nothing's forever. You know, the world isn't
They're
going
all
to
too
come
young
to
to
it.
remember when MASH ended.
Yeah, yeah. The breakaway shot of the chopper flying up in the air, and they got the 4077. Yeah, I mean, people can't let some things go, and they're going crazy because they're fangirling and fanboying over these paracelebs, and it's just crazy. I don't know what's worse, to be honest, is these network shows or the YouTuber paranormal people that show these ridiculously set up pieces of evidence just for views.
Well, all those network shows is why there's so many YouTubers doing it or TikTokers doing it, and that's because they present that these are just your every average, everyday sorts of people, and in their spare time they go ghost hunting, and never mind that they quit being plumbers or electricians or whatever a season in, and are now 14 seasons into a show that Scripps networks are paying them millions of dollars to be on.
Right. Millions of dollars is right, by the way. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they're the biggest.
It could have been us.
It could have been us. I actually, this is funny, but I actually applied for the role of that Josh Gates has on Destination Truth, or what is it called? His show, Josh Gates. Help me out here, Vanessa. I just listened to a
I feel
podcast
like
where
it
he
is
had.
Destination Truth. I don't know.
or Destination Unknown or whatever the hell it is on.
Destination Unknown, I think.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
Josh Gates, really
Yeah.
funny. He's a great person for that role. Like, but I applied for it back when it was being casted, and that's back when I was with Taps and everything. But I'm glad he got the role. I could never like dive into a cave or under the ocean and go through the Amazon looking for Shaka Zulu or. It's amazing what that guy does on that show. That's a fun show, and he's not like trying to pass off everything as paranormal or hokey pokey. So he finds what he finds and he has fun with it. So it's a good show to watch. But I actually tried out for that show. I'm glad I didn't get it. That's the only other show I've ever had an interest in doing. But yeah, but these other shows, man, they're just they're a dying breed. They're the dinosaurs. So what do you guys think will replace paranormal television? Like, how are you going to fill 23.5 hours of space on Travel Channel once they start shit canning some of these shows?
Actual travel. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I mean, to see a real travel show, you have to watch PBS. You got a whole network that's supposed to be travel. Well, here's travel. It. I don't know.
Well,
mega yachts and there's all kinds of things that they could do on Travel Channel that they don't. Actually take somebody to a city and show them the sites and the history behind the site, and the world is an interesting place. We don't have to make shit up
that's very true.
To be able to make something interesting or entertaining. I mean,
that's a great
history
point,
is freaking weird. Some of the crazy ass shit that people have done, every once in a while you catch a show called like Weird History or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're awesome. That's what they should be showing on like History Channel or Travel Channel, not the paranormal caught on film. Our top 100 films for the next 6 hours.
Yeah. And you know what's really hurting these shows is the locations they film at. It's kind of like when you go fishing, people fish too close to the dam. That's because where all the fish congregate and people overfish it, and then you get no fish there. This is what's going on with these locations that the networks and YouTubers are filming at. It's wore out. How many times can you go investigate if you're the Conjuring House or Mansfield Reformatory in Ohio? How many times can you go there as a network with each show? I mean, it's just tiresome, but you never travel to any other places. You're not seeing these people go overseas too much or incorporate actual travel into the shows, which would be a nice breath of fresh air to see, like the journey sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's always the basement of the Conjuring House or the Winchester Mystery House, which I don't think is haunted a bit, but
I don't either. Been there.
Yeah. It's cool. Vanessa's freaking out like it's haunted.
It's haunted.
That house is just constructed in such a way that it disorients you. It's like the mystery spot and things like that.
Yeah.
Where it throws off your perception.
Your equilibrium
right. Because it's giving you all these optical illusions at one time that your brain can't process. So it throws you off.
Right.
I can't say that doesn't make sense.
And like all the stairways in the mystery house are like the steps are only like 2 inches high. And well, why was that done? Well, because Sarah Winchester had really bad arthritis and couldn't lift her fucking legs.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know
it wasn't done for some spooky paranormal reason. No. She couldn't walk up steps, so they had to make special steps.
Kurt, you're killing the ratings for these shows. You can't do that.
There was some like thing where I don't know, a lot of people say that she structured the house for spiritual purposes, which I don't know how much truth there is to that, but some of it was so she could get around, but like I think some of it she structured for spiritual reasonings. I don't know.
Yeah, she had some whacked out spiritualist medium telling her you needed to do this, you needed to do that, and the woman was scared.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. there's different rhymes and reasons for the Winchester Mystery House construction, but it all started out because she was trying to confuse the ghost, and she had to keep building as part of the curse, or she would be the ghost of everybody who died by the hands of a Winchester firearm would come and get her, or whatever kind of shit it was.
You had a woman who lost her husband and her child within a month or two of each other. She was completely devastated and moved from Connecticut to California.
Yeah. Let me say one thing real quick. Now that we're like 40 minutes in and we've been pretty skeptical sounding, I do want to say this, that I think that all three of us, just for the people joining us or, don't know who we are, I think we all three believe that there are other things out there that we can't see or feel, but we do experience, aka ghosts. I don't know how I land on Bigfoot and the chupacabra and all that stuff, but I believe in ghosts. I'm a highly skeptical person when it comes to the evidence part of it. I've experienced strange things, but it doesn't mean everything's a ghost in my book. But I just wanted to stop for a second and catch up with the viewership and say that we're not just a bunch of skeptics here, shit slamming everything. We've had our own experiences. Kurt and I were on a ghost a paranormal research team for years, and we've been to a lot of places and we've experienced some things, but everything's not a ghost. And we just want to be upfront. This is what kind of the Shadow Things is about. We can come in here and share our beliefs or our disbeliefs, disprove things or prove things, or we can have spirited debate. So it's not a skeptical show, but I want you to just kind of be aware of our different, beliefs and the reason why we're kind of skeptical. But Vanessa has done a little less talking about the skeptical side because she's young and she needs to believe, right, Vanessa? Like,
I guess.
And like I just said, though, I think ghosts are real. I think there are a lot of haunted places, and we've all been to haunted places. But everything's not a ghost, and I just want to call out some of the things that I feel that are not haunted. But speaking of things that are haunted and not haunted, like the Winchester Mystery House, you guys think it's possible that the story is kind of misleading and it's not originally haunted, but you could get these Sam and Colby's and the overnight team and other people that come in there and they bring shit from the Conjuring House or the Warrens Museum, and they do these rituals or seances. Can they bring a ghost in there and then the ghost stay? Can it be artificially haunted by visitations?
I have an issue with like just locations being haunted. I feel like if those things really exist, they exist everywhere. Like not just in a building or a crazy ass house that's in California. Or I think that if ghosts exist, they're out in the driveway. I feel like they're everywhere. Think about the earth as a whole and everybody and everything that's lived for the past billion years or however the hell, like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I feel like if they exist, they're everywhere, and I believe in the science. I don't really get a whole lot into the spiritual mumbo jumbo like I try to, because I feel like there's something to it maybe, but I feel like if they exist, it's not just in,
that's a good point.
Like you say, oh, well, this house is haunted, this house isn't haunted, but I feel like everything's haunted.
Could be potentially haunted. Yeah, but I guess my question, or point of my question is that if you have a location, let's just say it's a 4-walled room that's never been haunted or no reason to be haunted, But you get all these people coming there and doing all this shit to conjure up things. Can it be haunted afterwards? Not really. Are these things more haunted than other people or other places?
I feel like things could be brought into a space, like artificially or whatever word you want to use for it.
Yeah.
I feel like
Or intentionally
could be brought into a space. Go ahead, Kurt.
intent.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Well, I mean, there is the potential, for someone to intentionally bring something with them into an area. Like you mentioned, like the Warrens Museum.
Right.
If you take an object out of that museum to somewhere else, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
First of all,
disagree.
that place
That's
is
pretty
not
big
even
coming from you.
that place is not even on any bucket list for me to go and see any of that stuff. Bury it all. Make some big giant concrete vault in the ground, put it all in there and seal it shut.
This is big time shit right now.
This is going to be a good thumbnail.
That Annabelle doll, of course, the Conjuring movies, they changed the doll for those movies into some creepy porcelain doll from the 1800s rather than the Raggedy Ann doll that it was.
Yeah.
But the stories around it are just creepy enough that I don't even want to go and see it. I don't even want to look at pictures of it.
Wow. But it's just a doll, Kurt. He's like, so?
He was
the
like,
fucking creepy doll.
It is. That doll that's down in Key West, the little sailor boy frickin' thing. I don't want nothing to do with that too.
Yeah, we've met Robert before, unfortunately.
Did you take your picture with him?
I took a picture of him.
Did you ask his permission first?
In my head, I did. But see, clearly he doesn't play that shit because my camera was never usable again after I took that picture.
Well, you ready for this? You guys know this, but not everybody else. But I'm one of two people alive that's ever had Robert the Haunted Doll removed from Key West and taken to a different place. And my life went down the shitter right after that happened. So is that part of the curse? I don't know. I didn't really. I think I treated Robert pretty good when he came down, but or went up. I never really cared to take pictures or say, "Oh, do I have your permission to take your picture?" I just made sure that he had a good home while he was on display at this particular event, and I'm one of two people that ever had him removed from the East Fort Martello Museum in Key West. The other person is Zach Bagans at the Haunted Museum out in Vegas. But I didn't have a good experience after that. Can I blame it on Robert? No. Just I can blame a lot on a shitty ass hotel and the whole situation, but which you can catch the details of that in episode 1 of the Shadow Things podcast if you go back and listen to past archives. But can things be haunted? Yeah. I've talked to John Zaffis before about some of the haunted things that he has had in his possession and still does. And haven't talked to John in a long time, but I did just listen to the old recordings from Taps Home Radio, had John on, and we're shooting the shit about different things. But I think things can have an attachment, and you can bring them into different locations that are either haunted or not haunted, and it becomes part of the vibe of that place, especially if you leave it there. Like I have over here, I have the Mud House Mansion mirror, the part of the Bloody Mary history, hanging right next to me in the studio here, and I've yet to have anything haunted happen because of it. But who knows? I mean, if weird shit started happening in this house, that mirror would be out of here. I'd donate it to the infirmary or put it on Marketplace. I don't know. It wouldn't be in here. I'm not having haunted shit going on. But
you might make a good deal of money if you put it on Marketplace.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a good question as to whether or not things can be haunted that weren't previously haunted. Now, the Conjuring house, Vanessa brought that up. I mean, I mean, first of all, you have the Warrens who, they went in and checked out the Conjuring house for the Perron family some years ago, decades ago, because of their experience before they moved out. And I think they lived there, a year? It wasn't very long.
Not very long at all.
But the whole thing is born off of what happened during a seance, during the Warrens' investigation. The mother was thrown across the room in a chair and all this stuff, and the father thought basically Ed Warren had killed her because of this whole seance that they were doing, and then you have the whole franchise that's born, the Conjuring movies, because of what happened during that one seance. But here's the thing, that property is so old. I mean, it's so old. It's in a rural part of Rhode Island, and there was a lot of battles and Indian type history and stuff. That there's just a lot of things going on with the land. I can't remember how old the actual house is, but I think that place probably had some things going on before the Warrens got there, but it all changed into demons when the Warrens got done with it. I'm not blaming it on the Warrens.
Because you got demonologists. That's their job, was demonologists. So of course it's demons. It's not something else.
Right. It's sad too, because people would take it to the extreme and then they just run with it for years, decades now, that there's a demon in the Conjuring house. I don't know what's there. Now, I will tell you that I would be uncomfortable staying in the Conjuring house for a night. Like, we were looking at booking it a week or two ago, and it's booked so far out. Like, it's booked up until next fall, maybe 2024. You can't really get in there. You can do day tours and stuff, which we were going to do a day tour and go to the Warrens conference out in Connecticut, and actually see the Annabelle doll and stuff like that. But
have at it.
We were going. All their artifacts were going to be at the convention.
Kurt's like, good luck with that shit.
Yeah, like most of the heavy hitter displays and exhibits from the
Concrete
Warrens
vault,
Museum.
40, 50 feet in the ground. Put it all there, seal it shut.
That's probably what's at Oak Island, by the way, a crate full of fucking bad juju.
That would be funny, wouldn't it? That'd be ironic.
Yeah. They're looking for the big payday, and they unearth the Ark of the Covenant, which comes out with beaming lights and melts people's face off like Indiana Jones. It leaves shit buried for sure. I don't know how much stock I put into haunted things. I mean, I think that some things have an attachment, but I think we can make things haunted, like the Conjuring house, and you got everything going on in the Conjuring house. People actually still conjuring things up inside of that little house, and you never know what's actually in there. Well, and here we go again.
Look at the Amityville house. They only documented paranormal stuff that happened in that house is when the Lutzes lived there. Period. Yeah. It's been owned 5 or 6 times since then, and no one has said, hey, this place is haunted. They're right.
Yeah,
I thought that there was shit going on with the DeFeos.
That was before the Lutzes.
Yeah,
that's the murder.
That's the murder. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I thought he was like claiming that, I don't know, the devil made him do it or something.
He did it first.
His defense.
Yeah, it was his defense team that tried to get him an insanity plea.
Yeah.
Right.
Makes sense.
And then it turned into a story for the Lutz family, who had to move out in like 5 minutes. They're like, oh, this place is haunted. I'm leaving.
Because they overextended themselves and couldn't pay the mortgage payment.
Yeah. And they got the house for a song and the dance, too, I believe.
Yeah, something like $80,000. But, that was also 1970, whatever. And $80,000 was a lot for a house.
Yeah. Could the Amityville house be haunted? Yeah, Amityville house could be haunted, but I don't think flies are gathering on the windows upstairs and, ooze coming out of the wall. you got Hollywood,
Well to hell
to
in the basement.
yeah, the well to hell in a basement. Would I like to go in the Amityville house? Oh yeah. If I was a
Absolutely.
millionaire and it came up for sale, would I open it up? Or would I buy it and open it? Yep. I would open the doors wide open for all these paranormal people to come in, set up shop.
$50 a head.
Shit. 300 a head.
Yeah.
That's the going rate. 300 a head.
Damn.
Take all the video you want, stay the night, fucking do whatever you want. But I would damn sure open it up and let nature take its course. You know what I mean? And see what happens. But yeah, I think some of these places are haunted because of the things that people are doing inside of them, aka the Whispers Estate, which
I was
we
just about
talked
to
about
ask
in
you.
depth.
Yeah.
That's just a little house in the middle of a nice neighborhood.
Regular ass house.
It probably started off very mundane, haunted. Just the old granny ghost, or in this case, the Dr. John Gibbons ghost.
Dr. John and the girl.
Yeah, but it turns into, and I'll say it one more time, probably the most haunted place I've ever been in. A little old unsuspecting house that just started off as a house. I mean, but I think a lot of what is haunted is humanity's fault. It's people that go in and do stuff that they have no business doing. And
Well, they have a room there that's supposed to be for that, right?
Yeah, the Oculus room
Technically,
up in the attic.
I don't know. I love that place. You know me. It always hold a spot in my heart, given,
I talked to the owner. Talked to the owner, Rich, again in January, and we were going to set something for this month, but we've kind of lost base. He invited us to go back out, and we're going to do a podcast from there and stuff. He has a podcast that he does, but we were going to do that, and I was going to interview him for a couple of videos, actually for the shadow things, but kind of lost touch a little bit there, and we'll try to set something up later on this year, maybe to go back out to Whispers. It'd be cool to do a live investigation, just have some audio running and see if our audience can hear anything, or it's probably my stomach from eating Taco Bell, but the place started off as just a Victorian little home in Mitchell, Indiana, but it's haunted as shit. I mean, that's one place I don't have any real skepticism about. It's just my opinion, but I don't know. You don't need a demon in every house, though. And there's not a demon in every house. Just the way it is. But
I don't even know if there's one in that one, even though it's the whole recipe for disaster inside of there. But I don't know if there's a demon in there. I don't know.
There's something wicked in there for sure. And it's off the mainstream radar too. None of the networks have been there. Not one network.
Which is kind of odd.
It's kind of odd, yeah. And it's had a fairly mainstream YouTuber channel, Paranormal Encounters, Connor Biddle and India Hopewood. Love their editing and love their style of their channel because they don't fake anything. I mean, you can see 10 minutes of footage of nothing happening on their channel. I love it because that's real shit right there.
That's how it is.
Yeah, and I seen India on her Facebook page the other day. She was talking about, she said something to the effect that, not everything's a demon, not everything's scratching you, quit it, just stop. I was like, yeah.
You go, girl.
That's the type of channel they have, and I enjoyed it. So, but they got a lot of followers, and they're kind of probably the biggest people that's been into Whispers Estate. But if you get on YouTube, there's hundreds of videos of these smaller teams going in there and having these mind-boggling experiences. And Rich shared a couple of stories with me about stuff that's happened in the building or in the home that since we visited, and it's pretty incredible. It's just
any repeat episodes of our experience?
Not relating to what happened when we were there, but just some things that sent people home and packing. You don't hear that too often. Most paranormal teams will they're in it for the night. I mean, they've gathered their gear, they've scheduled this time with their families to stay. They've traveled far, and they're in it for the long haul. But like us, we packed up within hours and got the hell out of there. And that has happened since at Whispers Estate with other teams. It's had some incredible things go on. And there was one such episode that happened again that happened to us, with the Austin thing.
Yeah.
That sent another team packing in another emergency medical situation. And it's just, that place is crazy. It really is. And it's just off the radar. So, but we'll get back there one day. We'll check it out.
For sure.
Yeah. So where are we planning on going with Ghost Trip next? Is that?
So my eyes are on and not leaving Twin City Opera House. Like, I'm fully
McConnellsville
invested in trying to get in there as soon as we can.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
I will know for sure within the coming week or so how that's going to go and when, but that's the plan. Twin City Opera House.
One of our key agendas for that is trying to drag Kurt with us.
Absolutely.
At least to something here soon.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be. It's got to be Ohio based though. It's got to be haunted too. Can't waste his time. You know what I mean?
Right.
And Travis Taylor can't be there as well.
As long as he brings the moonshine.
I don't know if I've asked this, Dad. Have you been to Twin City? No?
I've never been in it. I know where it is. I've been by it 100 times. It's a very creepy looking place. I've done some research because I was trying to set up an event there a long time ago. I watch a lot of videos, but I've never been in it. I know where the hot spots are, aka the basement. I want to hang out there. I would love to go to that place.
Yeah, it's my next stop for sure.
I've heard that there's something really dirty in there. It's not your average granny ghost or your dead child hanging in a corner type of haunt. So I want to check that place out and try some new techniques and stuff in there. That'd be awesome.
Oh yeah.
So speaking of, I mentioned Ghost Trip. So that's Vanessa's, that's her ghost team. So when we go out and do like little investigations and stuff and spook around in scary infirmaries or prisons or opera houses, that's under the Ghost Trip channel brand. So she has her own Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and all that. So all our videos will go up there. I edit her videos for her, and we were talking off air before the start of the podcast about some evidence that we captured in January at Fairfield County Infirmary in Lancaster, Ohio, which I caught. I found something in the middle of editing a piece of video. Actually, I was editing B-roll, which is just extra filler video of scenery inside of the infirmary, and I just so happened to catch something that stopped me in my tracks, and I spent hours looking at it in editing and try to. When I say edit, I don't mean manipulate it, but slow down and try to look at
really
it frame by frame. Yeah. So we're gonna introduce that piece of evidence on her Ghost Trip channel for the visit to Fairfield County Infirmary in January. This past January. It's colder than shit. I mean, it was like 19 degrees maybe. Or
honestly though, when it's 20 degrees outside, it's like 10 inside the infirmary.
It was a lot colder.
Yeah. For sure.
So what I think that was captured was a probably a half body or partial bodied apparition standing in a doorway. It does not remind me of the Hilliard apparition video, Kurt, from the Orion group video. That was impressive. That moved and it had kind of a form. This is a solid looking form with contrasting color, black and white, that looks like it's half hovering in the doorway as someone pans the camera from a hallway to a double or triple room view, like a couple of door thresholds, and there's something standing in one of the the restrooms of the bump out wing on the, I want to say it's the 3rd floor of the infirmary. And I don't know what it is. I'm still looking at it, but it'll be part of the next video edit for Ghost Trip and some of the other things that we captured in the basement. Didn't capture a lot of things going on there, but some interesting sounds, and there is a visual piece of evidence coming with that Ghost Trip video from Fairfield County Infirmary in January, where there's just some things on the video that should not have been there because of the location of where the camera was. There could be no chance of contamination whatsoever visually for this piece of evidence that we're going to put out. And I welcome anybody to tell me what the hell it is. And I'm not talking about the apparition one. This could not be an apparition, or maybe, I don't know. But this thing that we captured in the basement on video, mind you, on an old school Sony night shot camera with the old school infrared illuminators. I don't know what the hell this is. And I can't wait to share it. So I'm putting together that Ghost Trip video to kind of show what we experienced there. But
Can't wait to see it.
It'll be coming out this week. I have a lot of
I'm
it
scared.
done. I want Kurt to pick it apart like a crow on a dead deer in the road. I mean,
You be
that's
nice,
what it's there
Kurt.
for.
You be nice.
Well, the thing in the basement, so I'll explain it. I'll set the scene a little bit. We set up the device that captured this, like I said, is an old, like a TRV model, a Sony night shot camera. I think it's like a 2010-ish model, not a tape model. So it's when they first came out with the hard drive based DVR type setup, but it's one of the old pioneering ones. And we set that up on this little, so if you go to the 1st floor of the infirmary, I call it the basement, but it's not really a basement. There's a little ledge there that separates the hallway in the middle, and it separates the morgue where they did like the autopsy stuff and clean up the bodies. And then on the other side of the hallway in a little room is the physician's office, where there's still like an exam table in there, and there's shelving with little faux bottles of heroin, and like the little, it's all decoration stuff, right? But it's got the feel of the old physician's office, like it would be back in the the mid 1800s when the infirmary was operating full throttle. And this place started in 1828, by the way, so it's got almost 180 something years or whatever of history. But so the scene was the night shot pointing into the physician's office, which the view is quite boring. I mean, you just see the doorway, you see a darkened room, sort of illuminated by the IR light on the night shot camera, and then you see like a chair in there, and then you could see the exam table. Nothing else going on. During the course of the video is about 55 minutes in total duration that we left. We did an abandonment, segment for the video where we just all leave and we have protocol where we try not to contaminate and go in the area and just kind of keep it down.
We were up on the top level of the building.
Yeah, so
entire thing.
And I'll include it on the video too, but you'll hear us, our tour guide for the night, Patience, you can hear her counting down, and the further we go, the less you can hear her voice. And then we totally disappear. You can't hear us anymore. We're up in the dungeon, which is oddly enough in the attic of this place. And the night shot's down there rolling, capturing these sounds. Not anything crazy like visually, but you just hear like, there's one point where you can hear a wooden chair, and you can tell it's wood. You can tell a chair scooting across a piece of like VCT flooring, or kind of a vinyl base floor. You can hear a wooden chair just scoot, and it's got to be either in front of, beside of, or behind the camera. So you can hear that happen, and you can plainly hear someone with a English accent talking. I don't know where that comes into place, Then you could
Yeah.
hear some singing again in an English type British accent. Singing. Nobody was singing. We were 3 floors up. Not singing, but it's
All
on this.
together.
Yeah, it's on this
If
night
I'm not
shot footage.
mistaken, most of that time was spent when we were upstairs, huddled around like a spirit box or something. There was no singing. We were hardly talking to each other, like vocally. Like with, it was mostly just like
Yeah,
we
it
were
was in the
super quiet.
northern portion of the attic, opposite of the chicken coop. Yeah, in that area where the transient people would come through and they would give them shelter for a week at the infirmary. So we were up there, not anywhere near this physician's office, 4 floors below, and this thing's capturing this just a plethora. I'm going to say there's about a dozen pieces that I'm going to include for audio, but the reason why I'm telling you about this is because of this visual piece of evidence that I caught. A couple of lights that shouldn't be there that appear suddenly on the door threshold. And mind you, there's absolutely not one piece of dust orbs flying around. There's no orbs or any kind of floating artifacts in any of the scenery, which is odd because it's dusty down there and you got the the old IR illumination from the night shot. So you would suspect some orbs floating around, right? And there's nothing. It's just a steady shot of this doorway. And probably about 30 or 35 minutes into the video, there's you can hear plainly a couple of sharp static shocks. You know how like if you touch the wall, if you're kind of charged and it goes, you can hear a double, and just shortly before or after that, I got to go back and look, but shortly before or after that, on the door threshold, you plainly see 2 like snaps of light occur, not at the same time, but within the same second, like a half a second apart, maybe. It goes or like that in the same linear motion on the door threshold. There's absolutely 0 windows down there for any light contamination. There's no equipment down there that would give off any kind of contamination from like the LEDs blinking or anything like that. There is a REM pod that we positioned inside of the physician's office on the exam table, and it's off in the distance. And if it were to indicate or trigger, you would see the LED flash. It's not flashing. A REM pod makes all kinds of noise too. It never went off in the whole duration of the video, but you do see this static shock type light phenomenon on the door threshold inside of this physician's office, and that's at the Fairfield County Infirmary.
What kind
I
of
don't know what
paint?
to make of it. So there is so some of the rooms have lead-based paint, but they remediated the hallways to remove all the lead-based paint. So I don't know if it's considered the
Is
hallway
the threshold still lead paint?
That's the question. I don't know. I'll find that out for sure. So what of it? Like if it's lead-based, could that carry
It
a
could have been
electric
static
charge?
electricity in the air.
Yeah.
What 35 minutes into the
Lead's a conductor. It could
Yeah.
just be static electricity in the air. I mean, static is fully in the air all the time. That's where lightning comes from. And so,
Yeah.
static is all around us all the time. Just because it didn't collect on you and you got a electric shock doesn't mean
Right.
that there isn't static.
What would cause it to discharge? I mean, on its own. I guess I'm interested in that. Like here's my thoughts. I think it is static. I just
Something
don't
had to
know.
have ground it. Insect or who knows?
Not in January. You won't find a bug one in that place. I mean, it was cold.
Ice cold.
I mean, yeah,
Moisture?
insects have to go somewhere. I mean, maybe they fly around, but we didn't see any.
Moisture?
Yeah, I mean, it could be. It was unusual to see it.
Oh, it's
It didn't.
definitely unusual.
It didn't repeat. It didn't happen before or after on any of the video. We also set up another SLS. I think we lost Vanessa. We
That's,
set up.
it static after a discharge is it's not like so let's say you've built up all the static on you. You touch a doorknob and you get zapped. You don't go to the next doorknob and get zapped immediately. You got to build that charge back up.
Right.
I'm not trying to completely debunk anything. I'm just saying that this is a possibility if it's lead-based paint that especially when you're telling me that there was a sound with it too.
Yeah.
Just like a discharge of static. That would be my guess, is it's a static discharge.
Yeah, and a lot of people would say, well, ghosts are a form of energy and it passed through the door threshold and caused the static phenomenon or the static display. I mean, I guess. I just find it funny that 35 minutes into it, something caused the discharge or whatever it is. I mean, it may not be static. I mean, it could have been. Now, the noise and the lights are seconds apart, and the audio doesn't line up perfectly, but it's not to say that didn't occur off camera as well. You know what I mean? I think Vanessa's trying to reconnect. There she is. She moved. All right. Yeah, we were just talking about the static thing, probability or possibility for the infirmary downstairs. Can you hear us, Vanessa?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Hardly.
Yeah, you're a little dim there, but we can hear you. So I don't know what it was, but we'll include it in the Ghost Trip video, and we'll put that all in the links below if we can put them below. This, by the way, did not go live, so I'm looking at my settings here, and it's record only mode. So I'll push it out live. Here's the beauty, you guys, viewers included. So all you viewers, our lovely Shadow Things podcast viewership, and Vanessa and Kurt, nobody and myself, we don't have to wait for this to go on, get published. It's just as soon as we're done, I just push it and it's done. I don't have to piece anything together. It's just pretty automatic. So I love this StreamYard software for things moving forward. I mean, it just seems a lot better. Seems a little easier, and so we'll go for it. But yeah, we talked about Fairfield County Infirmary. Just a side note that I am volunteering there to do some of the tours and the ghost hunting and stuff like that for some of the groups and events that come through. So,
and you're willing to sign autographs?
Nobody wants my autograph, but yeah, it's going to be experience to get a little bit more exposure in there to poke around and whatnot. But it's a cool place. Hey, by the way, when I take a huge drink like that, you guys feel free to take the show over. Vanessa, where'd you go? Are you in a different room?
My phone said nope and just shut off. So
we weren't even talking about UFOs.
I know.
Oh, speaking of, we didn't really talk about UFOs yet, and that's part of the show title. So, UFOs. So Twitter is in a complete. It's never been so divided between people that believe and disbelieve, which has always been the case, but it is so hardcore right now on social media, especially Twitter, with these people that are in the know and people that are part of this new UAP push, like the Jeremy Corbell and the George Knapps and the Stephen Greenstreets or the Mick Wests of the world, who are either for or against the phenomenon. Either way,
can I just not start being forced to call them UAPs? I'm 50 years old and I've been calling them UFOs my whole freaking life.
Yeah, I still refer to them as UFOs when I'm on social media. I mean, they're UFOs, but
is MUFON going to change their name
to UPON? I don't even know what it would be. But it's just it's kind of like the ghost community. Everybody goes at it and just everybody takes things so personally.
Yeah, that's exactly it. People take their opinion and somebody's questioning of their opinion so personally. It's like Vanessa tells me not to be mean when I look at the ghost trip stuff. I don't plan on being mean. Just got to not take it personally.
Yeah, that's true. Like Kurt may be able to explain some of the stuff that we put out, and we can accept it or just
It's
move
not
on.
a personal attack, Vanessa. It's not.
Yeah. Hey, especially to me when I spend like 5 days trying to put the video together and it turns out to be static, like Kurt's suggesting, and I'm even suggesting that. That's the thing, though. People in the UFO community, they take it so personally. Like there's this guy, Mick West. He's a pretty diehard, known skeptic of the UFO topic. He's very good at what he does, and he makes a lot of great points. But the UFO believers loathe him. They hate him. They think he's the biggest troll on social media. And I can appreciate somebody like Mick West because he makes a lot of sense. Like he's very anti U.S. Navy gimbal video and Tic Tac video. He did a great job of putting together some 3D models and some computer models showing that that's, in his opinion, probably not an ET craft from somewhere else, and that it's probably the jet or the thrust fuse or the thrust signature from a jet, given the angle of the cameras, and he goes into the model of the FLIR on the aircraft and all that. But I appreciate skeptical viewpoints as well as the believer viewpoints because I've had my own experiences with ghosts and the UFO thing. I've had my own UFO sightings. I can't say that everything is explainable. I just can't, because what I seen is not explainable. There's not 100 Mick West or even a Kurt that could tell me that what I seen was not supposed to be there. It's just, I mean, I've went back and forth in my mind asking myself, was I hallucinating? Did I eat some mushrooms on the way to work that day that I shouldn't have? Or, I mean, I saw something, but it wasn't.
Sandwich.
Yeah, but it wasn't
too much Taco Bell.
That's probable. They had the volcano menu back then, so yeah. I mean, I seen something, but I think a lot of people, that touch on the UFO topic on social media, they're so passionate because they too have had these experiences. And when you get people like Stephen Greenstreet or Mick West that come on and just try to obliterate these Navy videos and some of the testimony by these pilots, it's real disheartening.
Well, I think that I think a lot of it comes from 50 years of the government telling everybody they were crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't help people's situation. Of course, people are going to, be, you think I'm crazy because I said I saw this or whatever.
Right.
I just, for me, especially with the saturation of the paranormal community in general, it's so hard to weed through all the charlatans and fakes and the fake videos and, the people who are just like back in the day, you had these people that would talk about, well, if an orb is red, that's what this means. If an orb is blue, that's what this means. And it's like, prove it.
People still like that too.
Oh, I know.
And I would be the Mick West of that other end and say, hey, where's your proof?
Right.
You know what I mean? I get both sides. I wish people would chill out. You know what I mean? I don't care if you shit all over my paranormal video. You know what I mean? It's part of life. If you present an extraordinary claim, you better have some extraordinary evidence, right?
Right. Back it up.
But if you present it, you should be open to the fact that people are going to critique your work or your findings, and that is that. If you're not open to opinion, don't present it publicly. Keep it in your little folder in your house and share it with your family or whatever. But
Well, the same thing, like you're talking, it happens. You write a dissertation for college and it's open to criticism.
right,
I mean, it's just life.
yeah, it's life. But people just take it to an extreme nowadays on some of these social media channels and even these shows. Kind of going back to the paranormal, like I've noticed some of these para celebs on some of these TV shows, and if somebody calls them out on, let's just say Twitter, man, they go right back at it. Like how dare you? It's like, you're a public figure.
Well,
you should be open to the scrutiny of somebody not enjoying your show.
And try dealing with a thesis defense in college.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look what you pour into those. You know what I mean?
Yeah. People spend years in college and then they write a thesis and in 10, 15 minutes, 3 professors rip it to shreds.
Yeah. Yeah. Just think of the gut punch. You know what I mean? But we're talking about people that are presenting UFO evidence and trying to back up their personal experiences with photos. Like I got this guy on Twitter. He's probably going to watch this, but and no offense to you if you're watching it, but he keeps DMing me these photographs of they're blurry, the lights are real dim, and you could tell his camera's shaking a little bit. It's the whole pareidolia thing where he's picking things out that are really not there. It's just total matrixing. He's got pets, but he claims that the ghost picture of the ghost cat in his photographs that he's sending me through private messages is a demon cat or whatever. And I just, rather than lose my cool, I just tell the guy like, oh, that's interesting. That's all you got to say is just kind of don't take offense to everything. I mean, that guy is passionate about what he's shown me, and who am I to shit on his cat photograph? You know what I mean? I mean, I saw a UFO. I've seen a ghost before. You can shit on it if you want, but I'll still believe in it. I'm not going to change that guy's tune. You know what I mean? My light's not going to grow brighter by making his dimmer. I mean, that's just not how the world should work. So, Vanessa, what are you doing?
Chilling.
Oh, it looks like you're on playing Minecraft or something.
No. So
you playing Call of Duty?
I'm looking at you guys on a monitor up here.
Oh.
And the camera's down. Yeah.
Oh, you got a better setup than me.
Yeah.
I had to switch places because my phone needs charged.
Yeah, I guess that'd be the way to go. Is we could stream off of our phones like when we're in the field or something. You know what I mean? Like go to a haunted place. I'm not toting my laptop around everywhere. But yeah. So what's next? What do you guys want to talk about?
Well, we never really finished talking about the UFO thing, did we?
It's crazy. Let's just get to the point. It's craziness. I mean, the whole thing now, of course, is the China balloon, and you got the other 2 things that we touched on earlier. Which, in my opinion, neither 3 or 4 of those things were space aliens. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, okay, so what did they shoot down over Lake Huron?
I think it was probably, I don't know.
Another Chinese balloon they didn't want us to know about?
Have you heard the cockpit audio from that Huron shoot down?
No.
So the guy is, man, I wish I had it queued up because I could share it with the viewers, but the pilot, it's a male pilot, and you could hear him describe it, and he says that, he literally says it looks like a balloon, but it's real small, and he said there's something tethered to it hanging on the bottom. So I'm sure that people from planet Pluto's not coming here with a balloon. That's what the pilot claims he saw on the cockpit audio that we know of. I mean, that could be some fabricated audio, but that's what the Pentagon released. So I think that was a balloon. We know the China one over that floated all over our nuclear bases and sensitive spots in the United States, and they shot down over off the coast of Myrtle Beach in the Atlantic. That was certainly a balloon because we got to see it. The one up in the Yukon, we'll never know what that was. Even the description, you don't hear too much about what that was, but there's this whole craze now because these balloons are being sighted, and these things have been floating around for decades. They probably, the Russians or the Soviets or the Chinese have probably been floating things all over the world and United States as well.
Yeah, we've been doing it for decades. So,
well, sure. There's balloons over China that we probably have going. I mean, but are they UFOs? I mean, people take it to an extreme. They're like, oh, they're not balloons. Well, I mean, what is it? You know what I mean? This is what the pilots are saying they are. And the one over Myrtle Beach was a balloon, but if it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
Yeah.
It's probably a duck, Travis Taylor. So I think
you
that's
weren't
kind of
excited
where.
enough.
Yeah. It's a duck. I think that's where the UFO community is that they get caught up. The UFO community, let me sum this up, is too worried about the government acknowledging the phenomenon. I'm sorry, but I don't need President Biden to come on TV and tell me that aliens exist. I just don't. Some people do. They need that ultimate, like you said, for 50 years or more, they've been lying to us about even their own studies. They've had these various offices and departments outside of Blue Book investigating the phenomenon, but yet they call us crazy. And all of a sudden they have departments and all that stuff, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, the big thing for me is when you hear the statistics. I mean, even Pentagon statistics on the phenomenon, we can explain 90% of it. Well, what about that other 10%?
Yeah.
It just blows my mind that now they're willing to admit that, yeah, there's definitely stuff we can't explain that's flying around our planet. We have no clue what it is. Sure.
Do you think they're apprehensive, even historically? Are they apprehensive to talk about that 10% because it's a national security thing, or is it an embarrassment to our military industrial complex that we're not number one? Because if this is indeed technology that China or Russia's involved with or possessing, we're fucked.
Well, but you see, that's part of the statistics that the UAP division or whatever of the Department of Defense released was that of that 90%, I think it was like 12 or 14%, they were able to explain away as military technology from another country or our own country. And so that non-explained portion isn't something that is a technology from somebody else or from us. It's absolutely unexplainable.
Right. But yet it is clearly identifiable physical objects that have not only visual data, but radar data and other scientific data, not to mention testimony from people that are highly credible, trained observers of, the environment in which these things were captured in. I mean, to me, it speaks for itself. You just cannot explain everything away. You can't.
Well, I mean, I'd like for them to admit that the Phoenix Lights weren't flares being dropped by the Air Force.
Do you think it was flares?
No.
Oh, good. I was about to say this is going to be a whole thing. We're going to have to.
It lasted for way too long. I mean, flares burn out quick.
Oh, they've redone that experiment a couple of times. Even the Air Force Base out there, I can't remember the name of it, but they even went and dropped flares like the following year to show everybody that it was indeed flares. Looked nothing like it. You know, flares they don't stay in a linear pattern forever. They sway and they drop and they have a smoke signature. Even from a distance, you can see that smoke illumination because of the flare lights. Those were not flares. And it just didn't hover over a mountain range like people see in a lot of these videos. This thing traversed hundreds of miles from, you know, Arizona into maybe even not Arizona, but parts of Nevada, all the way down into extreme southeast Arizona. I mean, lots of people over lots of cities saw this big triangular craft, boomerang type craft, that even the governor of Arizona seen it with his own eyes after he made fun of it. I mean, a lot of people seen something in Phoenix. I'm 100% confident that the Phoenix lights were some otherworldly phenomenon. I do not think it was anything that came out of the Air Force Base or anywhere close by of human origin. I just don't. It doesn't add up. You're talking a couple miles wide of a craft. You know, I don't think anyone described it as being as any less than a mile wide.
Well,
we don't have shit like
that. It makes
that.
me think of the description from the airline pilot during the Reagan administration of this aircraft carrier size craft up in the sky that not only he but the passengers on the airplane had seen.
Is that the one over the Bering Strait?
I think so, yeah.
Right.
You know, back in the 1980s, the thing was immense.
Yeah, I mean, the people have been seeing all sorts of craft in different sizes and shapes and characteristics for as long as history's been recorded. It's etched in caves, you know, cave dwellings and
medieval paintings.
Yes, if you interpret it that way. But when hundreds of people see the same thing and they describe it as being a mile wide, there's nothing that humans have produced that is that large and that silent and give off no signatures of propulsion or noise. You can't dispute that something crazy happened in Phoenix, and it happened again years later, like 10 years later, more in recent history. The same lights. I don't think the overhead visuals were observed, but the same type of lights off in the distance were observed again in Phoenix. But it's not the Air Force. I mean, you can't explain that stuff away. You just can't. So a lot of it too. Let's use the current stuff that's out, like the Tic Tac, the U.S. Navy caught on FLIR video. It's the little dot one that's going like 1 billion miles an hour over top of the surface of the ocean.
Right.
It's clearly there, whatever it is, not an artifact of the video, in my opinion. There's an object there that they're tracking. Now, some skeptics, including Mick West, have said it's just, I don't know what he particular or specifically called it, but a lot of people have just labeled it as airborne trash moving at a much slower rate than what's perceived on video, at a different distance from the camera. Whereas we view it as something moving very fast in a super straight linear fashion over the surface of the ocean. But you can't dispute the fact that the Navy pilots seen it with their own eyes, and they tracked it on radar and multiples, not just the one you see the Tic Tac on the video, but multiples of the same craft doing extraordinary maneuvers that humans could never survive if they were inside of that, that fuselage or that vessel. I mean, you'd be smashed you'd be spaghetti sauce. But yet we see it on video. You see it on video. I mean, what is that? Like
our fighter pilots wouldn't be tracking something like that as a hoax.
Oh no. Even their interviews nowadays, like this Ryan Graves, he was part of the and what's his name? There's another guy that's pretty prominent. He's out in some videos and newscasts, and he appears on the news, but talking about those videos as they were filmed, because they filmed them. Like you're just seeing a small portion of what happened. Like some of these originated from the surface of the ocean in a boiling, like a cauldron bubble of stuff going on underneath the surface of the ocean. And they've seen it rise up out of the ocean and go 3,000 miles up and then back down in a split second. And like, my thing is if that's not aliens and that is China or Russia or some foreign adversary, we're screwed. Because if that's weaponized in any fashion, there's no way to defend or track or counter that type of technology.
Maybe it's Elon Musk.
No, I wouldn't put it past Elon Musk. I mean, that guy he's pretty innovative, but he's being quiet about it. I don't think he's ever publicly came out and commented on what those are, but it's really interesting because it's the most high-tech thing we've ever seen, if it's what it is. If it's not a piece of trash floating at 20 mile an hour, as opposed to, it looks like it's 100 knots plus on that one Tic Tac video. I mean, if it's something more mundane than that, like a piece of trash, which I don't think it is, but we're screwed. If it's not that, if it's not a piece of trash, we're screwed. It's not a drone because they can't fly that fast.
So somebody posed a question to me about aliens. The other day we were talking about all this different stuff, and he posed the question. So we have aliens. They're coming in and they're observing. And that's all they seem to be doing. Why? What is the purpose? Because they don't come down and aid us. They don't come down and invade us. So what is with the 50 plus years of observation?
Well, we could be in a giant petri dish. They're just looking at us through a microscope. So if you can traverse the cosmos like they do, presumably, and they have this technology, we would be so boring to them. I mean, I don't.
Right.
Maybe they come down and anal probe people or dissect a cow every now and again. But for the most part, I think we'd be incredibly boring as a species to observe or interact with. I don't think, when I go out and look at an ant, I'm not going to go talk to it. I'm not going to go land on its front lawn at the ant version of the White House and say, "Take me to your anthill leader." You're a fucking ant. You're boring. That's probably, in my opinion, if there are extraterrestrials visiting us here on Earth, we're just really a boring infancy species. We're just we're not old enough or advanced enough. We can barely get off the planet. So that'd be my answer to that question.
Well, but they're obviously not interested in aiding us with that. But they're also not interested in invading us because they're not breaking our anthill apart and killing us all.
Well, some people would say that they're aiding us because you got the whole Eisenhower administration story where supposedly somewhere down in, I want to say it's either Dulce or Los Alamos, or it was at a New Mexico Air Force base where there's footage of a spaceship coming down and meeting with Dwight Eisenhower. And they came up with this whole secret pact between humanity and the space aliens where we allow them to experiment on humans in exchange for technology. You ever heard that one?
Yeah, I've heard that. But I mean,
where's the video?
But it doesn't, we haven't advanced fast enough. If you understand what I'm trying to say. I mean, yes, our technology has advanced since then, and we've made some technological leaps, but not to anywhere near what it would take to traverse the cosmos like they do.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the rate of acceleration of our technology, though, given the time that we've been around as humans, I think it's pretty fast. Like if you go back just a measly 100 years or 200 years, who would ever think about, like, if you dropped a laptop computer off in the Victorian era, that would be it would be beyond a technology mind fuck. It would be magical. That would be total witchcraft if you dropped a laptop off in the Victorian era, and then just go a couple, 100 years or so.
But
forward.
H.G. Wells was writing about it in 1895.
Yeah,
It wasn't outside their
well,
imagination.
go back further. Let's just say in the Tudor era, so the mid 1500s or 1600s even. Drop a laptop off back then, when people just had the imagination of, everything's sorcery, or that type of thought process was blasphemy to the church. And
Well, but you also have to consider the socioeconomics of the periods of time. People were still scrapping together to have a meal. By the 1950s, most of the Western world, nobody was worrying about where their next meal was coming from.
Yeah.
So because of that, we were able to put our energy into even furthering the bettering of our lives. I like to say making us more lazy. Because every bit of technology we have is meant to lessen our burden as laborers.
Yeah, that's where AI is going now.
Yeah, and that's scary shit.
Yeah. Everything written in the future will be done by, like, Chat GPT, AI writer.
Right. That's ridiculous. It's scary.
Out of laziness. But that's the thing I'm talking about. Like, but just given how long humans have been around versus how fast we've developed since, 1550, let's say, it's pretty fast. Now we got computers doing shit for us, and we've been on the moon. In my opinion, we need some guests that don't believe that. Kurt, I think you can line us up here shortly.
Oh yeah, I think I can.
I'm dying for that. We'll talk about it off air, but we have to get some people on that.
I also think can line us up with some other Bigfoot believers.
Yeah, for sure, and non-believers. I want to talk. I want to talk to everybody about every topic that's outlandish or crazy or just interesting, about every side of their opinion, and every which way but loose. I mean, if we can get people on that want to talk about anything, in that, on that spectrum, I'm willing.
Well, even Daniel Boone fought a Bigfoot.
Yeah, I seen you had sent me that.
Did you watch it?
No, but I still have it. I'll go back and watch that. But
you got to. It's actually the earliest Western encounter with a Bigfoot in recorded history. Because, the Native Americans talk about encounters with Bigfoot, but, they were the Native Americans. We can't believe them. So here we have a frontiersman, a very well-respected frontiersman in his day, and he tells a story about encountering a Bigfoot.
I'm thinking it was a bear. What do you think?
I don't think it was a bear.
Kurt, do you believe in Bigfoot?
I've never seen one, but I do believe it. There are people that I know that say they have encountered Bigfoot, that because I know them, I know that they're not lying.
That's great to hear. Like, that is, for me, knowing you, for you to say that about somebody that you're acquainted with or a friend, that's huge. Because you don't believe just everything and everybody. If you're taking somebody at word by their character, then I believe you. I believe that you.
They have no reason to lie. And let me tell you, when they recount the stories, you can feel it, that they saw something that their mind did not understand, because they were told that this doesn't exist. And there it is.
Yeah. Yeah. It just, there's no motive to lie about things like that. There really isn't. I mean, I've heard some crazy stories like, well, we won't get all into that, but I've heard crazy stories about Bigfoot that are kind of disposable, but for the most part, credible people are seeing something in the woods and all over the United States and different parts of North America that you just can't discount all the time, like UFOs. I mean, that's why we have this show, to talk about the craziness out there. And I use that word loosely. I don't mean people are crazy, but
right. To get into
cool
the little bit of the Daniel Boone thing. Okay, here's a guy, and this encounter happens when he's in his 50s. The man had hunted his whole life. Like, he would leave his parents' house when he was 10, 11, 12 years old and go out and hunt for like the weekend. His parents wouldn't even see him. He'd come home with 2, 3 deer. The man spent his whole life in the frontier, in the woods, hunting.
Right.
And it isn't until he's in his 50s that he encounters this thing, which he had heard the legends from the Native Americans. But the natives had told them that they were all gone, that they weren't around anymore because the Great Spirit had come down from the sky and wiped them out. But yet he encounters one.
I wonder what they referred to, as the Great Spirit. Wonder what that was.
The Great Spirit is what they called God. So, God came down and wiped out the Sasquatch, and so there weren't any anymore. Well, that explains why people don't, see Sasquatch everywhere, is they were wiped out by something.
So that may have been the prominent or dominant species at one point. A bunch of Bigfoot running around. Right. Vanessa.
Yes, sir.
Bigfoot, yes or no?
Yes. Why not?
Yeah, that's a good point. Just why not? if there's ghosts and aliens, why not Bigfoot? What about... Go ahead.
I'm trying to think of how to word it. I don't know. I just feel like Bigfoot doesn't really fall under any category for me. Like
does it fall under a natural category, like a non-paranormal?
Yeah, it's not like a weird thing for me. I think it's just something that exists that's hard to catch or find. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think it's real, for sure.
Yeah. My opinion is that some people are seeing something.
Yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
Just because we don't have a specimen available, a full body, it doesn't mean that people aren't seeing what they're describing. I think there is a lot of misidentification, like bears and other animals, and again, pareidolia. A lot of videos are just misidentification. They pan their camera.
There was one taken in Hocking Hills that was on that caught on film, paranormal caught on film, and it's a guy in a ghillie suit.
Yeah,
out hunting.
I know the one that you're talking about. Yeah. You just got to be careful. I mean, and again, I don't take any of it seriously. I'm going to do this Bigfoot expedition later on this year up at Cuyahoga National Park and Forest, or whatever it's called. Never been there, by the way. I'm going to see what it's all about. Take the train;
it's fun.
Yeah, we'll see what's going on up there. I would love to see a Bigfoot. The guy that's going to be hosting us, he's never seen a Bigfoot, but he's been involved in Wayne National Forest case for the greater part of a year now, where these guys that he's talking to down there are very adamant about their interactions with some creatures in the woods down here in Hocking County, which is a county south of where I am now. They're very adamant that there are Bigfoot creatures, or Ohio grassmen, as they call it, in the woods, and they're dead serious. Like, this stuff is going on. There's some things that went on camera on a couple of their YouTube videos that were kind of weird. And the Hocking Hills itself, there's some weird stuff going on down there. I mean, we've had our own case that has transpired down there, but you never know what's around us in the woods. I mean, not Tar Hollow, but Schallenberger Park, which is just I think it's a metro park even. It's probably, what, Vanessa, 5 minutes from where we're sitting. Vanessa's lives in the same town I am, but somebody on one of these ODNR, Ohio Department of Natural Resources, naturists have dubbed that one of the top 5 places to encounter Bigfoot in Ohio. This little park. Why? Because if you go in it, it's so densely. It's just so much forest. I mean, there's no reason anybody should be in the depths of those forests. The wooded land back there. So there could be a Bigfoot like 5 minutes down the road. You just don't know. I just want to see one.
I didn't know Schallenberger was a hot spot at all. And Brooklyn and I went out and tried to film out there, just fart around, film nature, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's eerie because it's thick and there's literally nothing around you for a grip,
Yeah.
So, and I didn't know that was like, they're big for bears out in that area, and I didn't know that. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know that was a hot spot until.
Now, according to ODNR, there aren't any bears in Ohio.
Oh, horseshit. There's
no bears in Ohio. There's no wildcats in Ohio.
Well, Schallenberger Park is the only place I've ever seen a bobcat, and that's 5 minutes from here. We saw one in the parking lot entering the park itself. I mean, that park is just a nature trail. I mean, there's one singular trail that you can go on, and there's some little loops back there in the back. But I've been all through that park. The furthest back you can go on the property, and it's spooky. It really is. It's spooky in the sense that you think that there's wild animals back there, not Bigfoot. And to your comments, Vanessa, I don't know that I've ever heard of a Bigfoot sighting in Schallenberger, but it was dubbed one of the top 5 places to find a Bigfoot. So, but for me, I mean, you got urban Lancaster, if you call that urban, just on the other side of the hill, basically. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. You just never know where things are. If there could be a ghost in a haunted house, why can't there be a Bigfoot in the woods?
I'm not ruling anything out.
Yep. Well, we're going on 2 hours. We haven't done a 2-hour one for a while. 2 hours is good. You guys want to go about 4 or 5 hours, or?
I don't think my phone's going to let me.
I don't hear a screaming kid. Kurt, the wife, is in Budapest or wherever the hell she's at.
Budapest.
I seen where she posted a picture. It said Bud and Pest. I was like, wait a minute.
Buda and Pest. Yeah, it's 2 different
put them
cities
together. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. But yeah, we can go ahead and wrap it up. Going on 2 hours. But for everybody who tuned in and stuck it out to the very end, we appreciate you watching our new format on the Shadow Things show. So it's no longer the Shadow Things podcast, but it's a Shadow Things show. And those of you listening to us just on audio on your favorite podcast distribution point, we appreciate you listening. But if you're on YouTube, please click the subscribe button below and like us and all that stuff. And tune in next time for the next episode. We're going to be a little bit more structured next time and have a topic. We're just kind of catching up and shooting the shit about a different array of things here, and just having fun.
I'm just sitting here vibing. I just let you guys go. People are probably like, "Why is she here?" Well, listen, I don't know.
Hey, you're our best viewer. So yeah, we appreciate everybody's viewership and listenership, and we will catch you on the next episode of the Shadow Thing Show. Peace.